Well, hello there, Apple Bites. This is your Apple Bite Written Writ Ralph talking to you straight from our show here, Apple Bites, where we take a bite out of the apple and share it with you. And today we got a plethora of guests, all ready to geek out, have fun, and kick off some Kickstarters. I hope you guys are all ready to have some fun back there.
No, nothing but ready, Raph.
Party, party, party. Let's see, put you guys up there. All right, there we go. Now we're all pretty. You know what? Let's just jump right into this. John Dexter, why don't you tell the people all the good stuff? Give them the spiel.
Yeah, so my name is John Dexter. I'm the creator of Alpha Dogs. I have a new Kickstarter right now for my Dime Store Detective. It's a supernatural crime mystery that's kind of gained its traction. Recently got signed by a publisher, so it's pretty cool when that gets announced. But yeah, so right now it's doing pretty good. I launched on Tuesday, so it's about a weekend. We're getting close to being funded.
That's awesome.
That's always a great thing. Yeah, you're really close. You're like $377 away.
Yeah. So hopefully this will help and get her going here.
Folks, this is a fantastic book. If you like your little detective stories, I like my detective stories with some supernatural aspects to it. So this is right up my alley.
Yeah. It takes place a 40-year span. Whenever it's in color, we're in the present when the detective is on a hunt for a serial killer. Whenever it switches to black and white, when we flash back to when the detective is 8 years old, raised by moonshiners embroiled in this turf war. Then at the center of this story, this evil entity the detective's father and uncle inadvertently released back in 1982 out of a cave in the Appalachian Mountains. And it ends up possessing the detective's uncle in 1982, and somehow it's returned in the present. So the detective has to try to figure out the connection between the serial killer that he's after and the return of this evil entity.
Nice.
Great story.
Yeah,
Great
if you like
cover.
supernatural stories, if you like detective noir, LA Confidential, True Detective, Stephen King's it, then it's kind of all wrapped into one.
All up my alley.
It's got a great trailer. I'm really proud of it. People seem to enjoy it too.
Why don't we do that? Let's go to the video.
Oh, I love it.
Let's go to the video. Hold on, folks. Here we go. Woohoo! You're not kidding. That was some trailer.
It was a good trailer.
Not bad.
Thanks.
Dang.
They do a great job.
Wow.
I have to say I really like the premise. Just because like when we think about serial killers, we often wonder like, where does that evil come from? Where does that come from? And maybe even if we don't believe in the supernatural or not, we think and maybe it's just a possibility. Like how could someone do, how can a rational person do these kinds of things, and like even like I said, even if we don't believe in the supernatural, whatever, it's always something in the back of our minds, like where does that evil come from? I think it's fascinating.
Yeah, there's a lot of people think that there's a demon inside them.
Yeah.
Well, that's the story that they may tell, but yeah, it's like I said, it's a real fun read. You don't have to believe my word for it. There's a lot of reviews that I post on my social media, on my Facebook, my Instagram at alpha_dogs_comic and at real alpha dogs on X. Check out my socials and read some of the reviews. But yeah, even Chris Condon, who wrote That Texas Blood, he works Green Arrow. He had read it and gave a really nice review about how much he enjoyed it. So yeah, you can check it out. Like I said, it's a very unique story. It's kind of a blend of, the old, detective stories, the detective that's kind of against the department. He's the bane of City Hall. He's kind of his own one-man mission. Doesn't play the games of politics. And now this serial killer has been somehow, not to give too much away of the story, but it's left its latest victim displayed over the burial grounds. The detective's father and uncle had buried multiple bodies back in 1982, and they were involved in this moonshine war that this evil entity has possessed the uncle. So it's a lot of cool going back and forth and, kind of having to confront your past to solve not just the mystery, but the own adolescent pain that he endured of his youth from all the hell that broke loose when he was a child.
I love the fact that these covers look like the old pulp covers.
I was just thinking that like old school, like vintage, like noir books.
Yep.
So I really like that you have this set in Appalachia. Like it's a very unique setting for a title. Is there something that drew you to the region in particular, or like what was the thought process on that? Because like generally when when you see people doing like the noir stuff, they stick to like the city setting of like New York or Chicago or even LA in some instances. I think that it's really cool that you have brought it to the Appalachians, which is not exactly known for that kind of thing. I mean, you did mention True Detective being a big inspiration as well, and that's obviously Florida Bayou. But like, I am curious what drew you to the Appalachian region in particular for this story.
Yeah, so it's really, I needed it for the geography of the story. You're right. There's not really any kind of stories that take place in Appalachia with that, noir detective type of story. But so there's a history that is really not known, and that's kind of what drew me to do this in the first place. Is there's a real Dixie Mafia. Now, if you ever heard of the movie Walking Tall, that was about the Dixie Mafia. It was remade with The Rock, but that is a true story. The Buford T. Puster, the Dixie Mafia, if you think of the New York Mafia, but of the South, Georgia, Kentucky, Tennessee, these guys were real. They were drug runners. They were hitmen, and no one has ever told that story. So that kind of worked perfectly for the detective story that I wanted to tell. I had to have the Appalachian Mountains because of, well, one thing, it has to do with the dry counties, moonshining back in the 80s, which some counties were still dry in that area. So, True Dumpster Detective is kind of like the Dukes of Hazzard, but a very, very dark storyline there because there's two brothers that are moonshiners, 4 generations, very proud people that try to get moved out of their family business by the Dixie Mafia, this gang. And of course, they're from the South. They're not going to just walk away. They go to war. Don Johnson. I don't think that's the right person, but there was Buford T. Puster was the real sheriff of Walking Tall who fought against the Dixie Mafia. But be that as it may, so it kind of fit in. I needed the Appalachian, I needed the dry county with the moonshining, and it worked out great because the original genesis of the story was when the Marines were looking for Osama bin Laden. They had said that there was caves so deep and dense in the Afghanistan mountains that some of it never been explored. And I thought, well, wouldn't that be great if some Marines walked in there and there was this evil entity that had somehow trapped? And then, of course, as the years go by cultivating it, just worked out perfectly for the type of story I wanted to tell. Plus, there's kind of a urban legend about the Appalachian Mountains, people disappearing on the Appalachian Trail. And so it's already set in kind of a, mythology certain to it. So it kind of fit in. And I love stories that go back and forth where, the main character has to face his past. And there's nothing more, I think, visceral feelings for any person than their childhood. And so that's people can get empathy for the main character, and it's very relatable.
Yeah, it feels really well thought out. Even when you're reading it, it feels like you sat there, and you actually thought it through the whole story. There's times when you read something and you're sitting there going, "Wait a minute, did anybody think about this?"
yeah, it's all years of working on it before I ever launch a Kickstarter. It's all been written out. There's 9 issues and all. It's all been written out, ready to go whenever we get the funding to, pay for the next one, basically. I'm sure, as everybody can attest to, you just make enough money for your Kickstarter to pay for the next Kickstarter.
That's what we tell people all the time. Nobody's making any money over here. Everybody's trying to make the next book happen.
No, but the great thing is a publisher liked it enough that, it will be, once it becomes a graphic novel, it will be published. And just like Alpha Dogs, that just got released here in February in bookstores and stuff. So my Alpha Dogs has now been published, which was really cool for me. I'd never been a real publisher before. So the fact now this one's going to get published is pretty cool. So it's a good story, I swear.
Oh, it's a great story. Folks,
that's awesome. And congratulations on the publishing deal, man. That's
thank
awesome.
you. I appreciate it. It's years and years and years and years of working to get any kind of positive feedback. One I'm sure can attest.
Absolutely.
No, it takes a lot of effort. Persistence is key. Congratulations, John.
Yeah.
Great news.
Thanks. It's just one step, as I'm sure all it's just another step, and then you got to go to the next hurdle. And this one is getting this funded and make enough money to get to the next one.
Exactly. That's all we're trying to do, folks, is make the dream happen, make it continue, make it happen, make the whole story come out.
Yeah. I'm still calling bookstores. It's no different. Try to get them to carry the graphic novel of Alpha Dogs. I'll be doing that with Dumpster Detective too. It's creator owned, so you're still doing all the work.
Oh, you have to though, because you're your best salesman. Nobody else is gonna sell it like you do.
Yeah.
All right, so Nick, why don't we talk about what you have? Give them the spiel, folks.
All right. So my name is Nick Capone. I am a colorist by trade. I color books, but I also am the president of Sky Main Studios, and I'm also the creator of Purity, which is the main book for the company. Essentially, it's my love letter to the 90s. Growing up, I was a big fan of like Witchblade, Lady Death, books of that nature. This is the 3rd issue of an ongoing series. It's pretty much about, if you love witches and heaven and hell characters, our heroic Hellion, as I call her, Purity, escaped the underworld to find the person who put her there, who is actually her own sister. And she finds out her sister made a deal with the devil, and ultimately her sister is immortal because of it. So she's on the hunt for her sister, not realizing also it's no longer the 1600s. We're in Salem, Massachusetts, 2096. Whoa. And so it's a big gap. And her sister is still alive and well. And not only is she hunting her sister, but Satan, the ruler of the underworld, sent 2 bounty hunters to retrieve Purity, because there's something special with her soul that I'm not going to give away, that kind of froze the gates of the underworld, so no new souls can come in. So Purity is on the hunt for her sister while not realizing she too is being hunted. So it's an ongoing series. We have a lot in store with our. We're gonna do an issue 4, and then after issue 4, we're gonna launch a trade paperback, and then the next batch of books in Purity Story after that. So there's a lot in store. I have my team, Vaughn Coleman. He's my editor. I wrote the book, I penciled the book, and I colored the book. Then I have Pedro.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. And then I honestly need a break in between, so I did bring in an inker, Pedro Morasco. And then obviously I'm not a letterer. I tried lettering once. I failed. Kudos to any letterer out there. You guys are the real ones. But Tori Wilkinson, so she's our main editor for all the Purity books.
That's awesome.
That's a good team.
Yeah, definitely see the 90s vibe. Yeah, definitely.
Oh,
yeah.
Definitely. You can feel it.
I remember like when McFarlane, to create Spawn, and he said like his villain was the main villain was like Malvolgia, the devil. His whole thing was, well, Spawn's gonna be the greatest hero. He's got to have the greatest villain. That's gotta be the devil.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, it's like I knew going in that the rift between Purity and her sister, like her sister's gonna be the bad, but obviously if we're dealing with the underworld, I was like, I have to draw the big bad. Yeah. And so there's no other, that came across my mind than Satan. And it was an interesting twist because when I was doing like a lot of research starting with Purity, I didn't want to do the typical like big buff, red skin, horned devil man. I went with more of a seductress kind of character. And I was doing lots of research with like different, appearances of the devil in certain scriptures. And I went with more of like a fallen angel approach. So she's not the typical devil that you expect, but also she's, I feel like I haven't seen another person do it similar to that. So it was really interesting.
No, it's a great read. I've got Nick's first book, and I really enjoyed it a lot. It's really good.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so that is our Satan cover. So it's not a Purity campaign without a Satan cover. So this is Todd Ferguson. So there's our Queen of the Underworld, all front and center, and one of my personal favorite covers.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, these covers are fantastic.
Thank you so much. And then this cover in particular,
Which one?
The Sapphire Spectre edition, like below.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah. What's really interesting about this cover is one of my friends, his name is JT Malloy. He has a book called The Sapphire Spectre. Basically, it's like a punky, ghoulish version of Witchblade, which is really awesome.
Cool.
And I messaged him one day. I'm like, let's take it back to the 90s. Like, let's really go back to the 90s and let's bring back crossover covers. But this time around, with this tier in particular, any backer who backs my cover, his cover that he drew for period number 3, will get a digital copy of the Sapphire Spectre number 1.
Nice.
Currently has a campaign live right now for Sapphire Spectre number 8, which I did a crossover cover for with Purity. So anyone who backs that will get a digital PDF of Purity number 1. So it's a really cool cross promotion bundle, but it's a nice indie special. It introduces you to a new character, and hopefully one day, like me and JT kind of hinted at it, but hopefully one day we will have a nice little full-fledged crossover with these two characters.
I gotta say, I like his take on your character.
Thank you. Yeah, he has a more of like an animated feel, like a nice.
Yeah, that's how I was looking at it. I was like, hey, this feels like a TV series.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Well, so super quick, you mentioned earlier that Vaughn was your editor. Like, he's really cool. He's been on the show. We just saw him at Garden State Anime Fest. Really cool.
I was able there. Yeah.
So
yeah, no,
really cool.
Yeah, no, Vaughn's a good guy. I've been working with him for a couple of years now. I've known him for about 3 years. He's great all around, and like he really he's such a good editor. Like he helps me take my writing to the next level. So I'm very thankful for him. Yeah.
I'm loving the angles that you chose
Yeah.
to draw the characters from. Like that's you don't often see, especially in indie books, at least as far as I've seen, a certain Dutch angle on a character.
Oh, thank you.
Really
Yeah, no, I'm all about like
that right there.
Yeah. Like, thanks, man. Yeah, no, I really love tilting the camera. Like, one thing so I teach at the Joe Kubert School. So, like, one thing I tell my students is that you are the camera person in your characters' lives. So, like, play around and tilt the camera a little bit. Like, have a lot of angles, use like contrast, and like composition is very important. So it's like I really try to implement that. And there are some moments where I see like even my influences like like a lot of Archie comics, like simpler layouts, and then you have the more complex like 90s comics layouts. So it's like a nice little balance of both.
Definitely.
I think.
Oh, it just looks like a great book, folks. You guys need to pick it up.
Thank you. Yeah, so like I offer a lot of digital rewards and a lot of physical rewards as well. I have quite a few backers from Canada and Australia. So especially in times where shipping gets really expensive, I like to offer, things for where everyone can be able to, get a hold of. So I do offer a few digital tiers. I offer a black and white edition. I offer a physical. I also offer a physical catch-up tier, so for issues 1 and 2, but I also offer the full digital catch-up. So if you're new to Purity, this is a great tier if you don't know where to start, because I don't know about you, and I've experienced this, that you find a cool book, but you realize that you only found like the 20th issue and not the first issue, and it leaves you confused. And I like doing catch-up tiers. The 90s anime print, Dan Donnelly, he was also at Garden State Anime Fest. He's a good friend of mine. I've known him for over a decade. But I'm a huge anime fan, and I love the 90s anime era. So I wanted a digital print for this. I do a digital print every campaign, but I knew that I wanted a retro feel. So every backer will get that who backs the digital tier, the digital print.
It's nice because the digital guys don't usually get much.
Yeah, and I feel like even that too, like I want more. I think some books I've backed just for digital rewards, like I kind of just want more of like sometimes just the copy alone isn't enough. And even too, if you back a physical copy, every backer of a physical copy would get a digital copy as well. Mm-hmm. So this cover in particular by Courtney Rose, I've worked with her for quite a few times. Very lovely person, great artist. Her and I are both big Witchblade fans, so I wanted a homage, a Witchblade #4 cover by the one and only Michael Turner, and it's one of my favorite covers. I think I love how every artist draws Purity, but this cover in particular is like, this to me is like Purity. This is like one of my favorite covers, and then like the whole run from issues 1 through 3. Yeah. You got Art Voyager. You have this was inspired by a Greg Land cover. Greg Land did like a Dark Phoenix cover back in like 06, 07. And then she was like kind of like submerged in fire. And I was like, I kind of want that for Purity. So Art Voyager did a really cool thing and made it upshot, which is something I feel we don't see much on comic book covers. I urge people like bring back upshots and downshots in covers. So this was a really fun cover, and I color most of these covers, so it was really fun getting to color this.
I can tell you dove into the coloring because all these things have beautiful coloring to it.
Thank you.
What's your technique, Nick? What do you do for coloring? How do you color a cover, basically?
So I program wise, I use Clip Studio Paint. I do some trials of like little color comps and like what I figure out what evokes the mood of the story, and then like stylistically, I like using more painterly brushes, but I kind of It really depends on the style. So some like for the Josh Howard cover, I went more cartoony with it. One thing I tell anyone trying to break in as a colorist or even my students, I'm like, one color style does not fit all. So I trying to adapt what the style calls for and how I can complement the previous stage. And then we also have sketch covers. So if anyone's a fan of sketch covers, it was a big request for issue 2, and so I made it into an add-on for issue 2. But a lot of people love the sketch cover tiers. So this campaign, you could have the option to get a few sketch covers on a few of the tiers. You get the entire cover run, so you get all 7 covers plus the additional sketch cover. It's a really great bundle if you're a collector.
That's a great price
Thank
for
you.
all that stuff.
Thank you. And then it's I offer my commission tier. So there's a digital commission tier. It could be any character of your choice. Bonus points if you choose a Purity character. But I'm also a co-creator of Reign of Ages with Sinopa Publishing. So if you want a Reign of Ages character or your own personal character, that's fine. Traditional, it's a little more expensive because of shipping. It ships separately, but same thing. 9x12, black and white, pen and ink.
Still cheaper than the usual price. So
yeah,
yeah. We know enough artists. We know that's a cheaper price right there.
Yeah. Like again, too, I want to give people their money's worth. So it's like I don't want to like fully make their pockets bleed. I want to give them the right deal. Like I was always true to that. The Heroic Hellion tier, it's a returning tier. You get all the rewards and an 11x17 commission by me. It could be in full color. It could be in black and white. The full color options, you could do digital or traditional. Completely up to you. Will be in your backer survey. But it's just a great tier if you want original art or digital art, something really custom outside of a 9x12. And then the indie special, and this is something I introduced in the last tier, campaign, and people seem to find it very interesting. The cover commission tier. So I'm pretty much offering my services as a tier. So if you're a writer, a creator, a publisher, you're looking for some cover art, you can get a full process cover by yours truly, plus every reward prior to this. So if you want all the covers, the sketch covers, all the digital rewards, you get all of that. Plus,
that's a fantastic deal. Wow.
Thank you. But yeah, you get the big cover commission from me. Obviously, there's some samples of my work over there, but I pretty much have a open range to anything. So if you want making a bag roll book, if you're making more of like a cartoony book, and pretty much anything, and want a commission from me, that's a cool little indie special I'm offering.
I like these tiers because you actually get the stuff usually for a cheaper price than you would get it if you commissioned the artist directly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and like, I agree. And like, even too, like when it came to like reaching out to, artists for my covers, everyone's different. I'm not giving their number or anything, but like, sometimes covers in the past I've worked with ranged around that number, and just for like a certain stage. So I feel like you're getting really like the full cover.
You are.
Yeah.
You definitely are.
And then some stretch goals. I always include a trading card with every Purity campaign. So this time around, we're featuring Mary Adams, who is one of our antagonists. It's Purity's sister, who's a witch, drawn by Fernando Ruiz. I love trading cards. That's one of the things I noticed in other campaigns that I'm just like a sucker for, if it's like a stretch goal or an add-on. So I wanted to offer this one. It's the third card in the set. Then for $6,000, I'm offering my Purity sticker set. So you get a Chibi Satan. In the issue 2, you got Chibi Purity. So I wanted to debut a brand new Chibi sticker. For $6,500, you'll get a Sky Maiden Studios bookmark, which I feel like people. I love getting bookmarks. I like it as a reward. Some people love it. Some people are like, I don't need another bookmark, but I still wanted to offer that. It's kind of like our real big send off to launching our publishing company. So I wanted to include something with Sky Maiden.
And then never have enough bookmarks, Nick. I mean, for all the books I start and don't finish, I got to figure out where I left off. So it's good. Thanks.
Yeah, no, and yeah, no, I'm the same way. Like I always sometimes just I read so much that I just forget like where I leave off on some books. So I'm like, hey, there's a bookmark, perfect. And so then the final stretch goal is just like a huge thank you to all the followers and fans of Purity so far, and it's to be mentioned in the book. So it'll be like a nice little thank you page within the pages, and that's at $7,000. Purity's really been in the making for 15 years now. So it wasn't until the last 3-ish years where I really tried to solidify it into a finished product. So all the support so far, I'm just very thankful for it. So, the least I can do outside of, the rewards, I wanted to give a shout out to those people in the book.
That's awesome. Love what you're doing. It all comes together, folks. Folks, you want to go and support this. That's why I put it into the comment section. So I don't hear, hey, where's the link, Ralph?
I was looking at the private chat. I didn't see it. Thanks.
I don't know. I can't put it in both places, folks. Come on. But it's in the private chat anyway because they put it in there.
That's around here. Rob, you have a visitor behind you.
That's my mom. She's coming down the stairs.
Hola,
Hey, Tony. Wow. All right, folks. Rich, it is your turn. Why don't you tell people all the beautiful, wonderful things that you are going to tell us?
So I know you typically ask, what have I been up to?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. What haven't I been up to? So I'm up to so many things right now. I need to keep a little better track of where I'm at right now, since in the past 2 years, I felt more creative than ever because I'm doing virtually everything in the projects I have going on by myself. There's a limit to what can be done in an hour, a day, week, month, year, sometimes longer. I'm pretty sure everyone on this stream can relate. Come CradleCon, as you have featured in your window right now, Ralph, I am going to be launching a second comic book series, Zub Comics. Now, what exactly is Zub? Well, we'll get to that in a second, but what is Zub Comics, to be more precise, is a humor anthology which features a wide variety of goofy, silly, and wholesome characters, some of whom you may recognize if you've read Lucky Zilla Comics, published by me. As well as narcoleptic seahorse pigeons, if you have seen my animated series of the same title, including a cartoon I made late in the first season of NSP, Rumpley Rip, his friend Ramika, in Watching the World Go By. Rip makes his appearance in Zub Comics as well. He's a cat with a rump for a face and lets it rip. And his best friend is a little girl with cerebral palsy named Ramika, who lives next door. And they just kind of go on adventures, vibe, just chill. And Rip lives with his Uncle Butt and Aunt Fanny. You'll learn more about them in the book.
You kill me, Rich.
Oh no! I haven't even finished killing you yet. Now I'm gonna pour salt in the wound.
Go for it, man. This is great.
Go for it.
We're also proud to introduce a new feature, Queer Creek Video, which features the misadventures, highs, lows, and all in between of 3 trans people who open a video store in a red town in 2025. I used to work at a video store, so this is bringing back a little bit of memories for me. 2 of them are war veterans. One of them is an an Army deserter. More on that as the series develops because it's still so new. Some of these characters I've been toying with for about a year, others a little longer. Queer Creek Video is perhaps the youngest feature. I only thought of it last year, and finally I decide to make a go of this about 3 weeks ago, and it's the quickest that I've ever completed a book. It is available for pre-order right now. It was printed at my local library because libraries have kind of taken a beating lately, and I want to make sure that I'm using my local library as much as possible and, thanking the staff as often as possible because they love having me there and I love them being there.
Was it the Emerald City Library by any chance? Was it? Just out of curiosity.
No. It's the Sachem Public Library. I wish there was a yellow brick road for me to follow to there, but it maybe not as whimsical, but it's still fun to go there. A bonus feature in Zub Comics is the comic book debut of characters Rats the Donkey and Evelyn Yu, which were created by my friend Nicholas John Pezega, who is an animation aficionado as well as a very talented artist in his own right. He really delivered on this charming little story that's on page 16 of the book. In addition to Lucky Zilla, which is still going strong, although admittedly, I fell behind on the last couple of issues. This is issue number 38 of Lucky Zilla. I wrote and drew it myself. It's as you can see, there's a lot of stress going on in this issue. Those of you who are familiar with Lucky Zilla, you'll get it. But basically, for those of you that are new here, Lucky Zilla follows the adventures of ace detective Bruce Deodato, who carries a very special ace, the power to become the mighty Lucky Zilla, and uses powers of strength, flight, invulnerability, and electricity to right the wrongs of humanity. And then some. I've also had a nasty habit of delving into all sorts of things because I like to experiment. So I raided the public domain. Each year, more and more movies go into the public domain. Last year, 1928, saw the releases from Dresden Media of Lights of New York, the first 100% end-to-end all-talking movie, and a forerunner to The Public Enemy and Angels with Dirty Faces and every other great gangster movie you can think of. We're also offering, with a new music score, the silent film The Crowd, directed by King Vidor, which was nominated at the very first Oscars for an award they don't give out anymore. And most recently, just this past couple of months, we released The Viking, a 2-strip Technicolor film from 1928 that's a silent movie, but it's not. It's got a music and effects track, and it's also got a rather salty commentary track by myself and my best friend, filmmaker, and New York Emmy Award winner, Kevin Lasani. Like I said, Lucky Zilla, our flagship property, he ain't slowing down. It's just, I want to make sure that I am exploring as many possibilities as I can, because I turned 40 this year, and I started feeling Marissa Tomei vibes, being like, I think something's ticking, but look, I'm going to be around a little while longer. I stress out about nothing on occasion. So I thought it was high time that I said to myself, I can't be pigeonholed into this, especially by myself. So let's see what else I can do. Oh, yeah, I still have this software that I paid money for. Why don't I use it? Yeah, okay. Next thing I know, I've got a few cases full of DVDs that I can sell, and occasionally I do. One of the reasons why I decided finally to publish Zub Comics after all, because I've been thinking about it for a long time, and then I just took a leap of faith. almost everything that I do now, I feel is like a leap of faith. But to explain what Zub is anything you want it to mean. It's all-purpose, all ages, genders, faiths, neurodivergent, and neurotypical. Zub is the kind of Zub you can count on at any time of any day, in any weather. Zub along and Zub happily in all that you Zub for Zub's sake. I will have copies of this at my table at CradleCon this weekend at the Cradle of Aviation Museum in Garden City, New York.
Fantastic con. CradleCon is a lot of fun, and I am looking forward to hanging out with all my buddies at CradleCon this year.
And we're looking forward to spending some time with you too, Ralph.
Where's my Aunt Danny?
Quick correction. Quick correction. It's the East Meadow Library. I don't know why I keep calling it Emerald City. It's the East Meadow Library. That's what
he meant he meant
I don't know why I keep saying Emerald City. Yeah, it's like the fifth time I made that mistake on the show.
Yeah, he always calls it Emerald City. I'm like, what?
Does Kelly Gordon know this?
I think he'll be flattered because if Tony sees it as Emerald City.
It's Tony's little land of Oz. Let's face it, that's what he likes. So he just library's Emerald City. Let him have it. It's good.
I'm in Staten Island, so the journey it takes me to get there, but probably that's why it's like he might as well be
there is likely
a boat to a train to another train to another. Oh gosh.
There is likely a red carpet that is done in the style of the Yellow Brick Road. So I'm going to look into this. I'm going to look into this.
Here's a question, and I like asking questions like this because I know there's somebody out there who's trying to make their own comic, and they're looking at all this stuff, and they get all upset, or they're like, oh my god, I can't do this. How long does it take you guys from concept to comic? And I feel like everybody should take a turn answering, because I feel like people have this image in their head. The comics happen like this, and we all know that's not the case. Anybody can start.
Oh, I can start. Dempster Detective was written probably about 5 years ago originally. It was about half a story, though. It started out with the Marines in the Afghanistan cave, as I was telling you about earlier, but there was something missing that I wasn't all that happy. So it sat for probably 3 years, and then I listened to this podcast about the Dixie Mafia, and it just kind of clicked that a supernatural story with a setting in the South in the early 80s, with moonshining and the dry counties, and these two brothers that were against the cops and stuff, and kind of the Dukes of Hazzard sort of vibe there that turns very dark. So Dempster Detective has probably been going on 7 years of writing.
I gotta say that every time you say the Dukes of Hazzard, I want to hear you do like a video where the voiceover guy is talking. He's like, "Oh, this demon's not gonna like that."
Yeah, that'd be great. Too bad Waylon James is dead, because I think he's the one that narrated Dukes of Hazzard. But
oh my god, it'd be great.
Yeah,
because every time you say it, I'm like, "Ooh, I want to hear it. I want to hear it."
Yeah, some gravelly older guy's voice doing it, who is a sing-song voice. That'd be pretty cool.
Oh my god!
I remember he had like a pet in the cartoon, just to give it a little mascot, like a squirrel or something. I try to remember.
There you go.
You always got to give him a mascot. That's what they thought back then. So
all cartoon characters need a mascot.
Yeah. Have a squirrel on his knee, eating peanuts too.
Exactly. Who's next?
Well, Purity was in the. I want to say I came up with the idea of her when I was in maybe like end of 8th grade, early into high school. So this is like 2008, 2009. But at the time, it wasn't the Purity we thought of. Like, she was more of like a basically, I essentially based off her design from like Marceline from Adventure Time. She was like gray skin, more of like a vampire. And then over that span of like maybe up to maybe 10 years, I was doing like little one-shot stories of like, barely like 5 pages. And like I kept changing the narrative of her over and over again until about like 2020, end of 2022, it really like hit me, and I'm like, let me solidify this character one more time and see what I come up with. And I was, is she a vampire? Is she a ghoul? Is she like like a vengeful character? Is she a hero? Is she a villain? And then I came up with this character that, one topic I always loved in history class was the Salem witch trials. So I'm like, what if we make her a Puritan and, kind of like my like love letter to like, the 90s, and like wanted like a witchblade character and really make her something heroic. So it took up to about end of 2022 to really solidify the idea for Purity. And then when it came to writing the script, issue 1 was actually fairly quick. I wrote it in maybe 2 months, and then my first editor, we looked through it, we launched it. One thing I feel like I would never do again is launch a campaign on my birthday. I did that with Purity number 1. So we launched it, and then the further the story went down, issue after issue, I noticed that if you're a fan of Adam Sandler, Purity is kind of like a spoof to Little Nicky. If you remember that movie,
I can see it.
Yeah. Someone at a convention brought it to my attention. They came up to my table and they read Purity, and I was like, they're like, oh, like, have you ever watched Little Nicky? I'm like, I love that movie. He's like, well, it's kind of like that. I'm like, did I just spoof an Adam Sandler movie and I didn't realize it? Okay. And so I rolled with it. So, that's the process. But each issue, especially working with Vaughn, it's really a fun process. For Purity number 2, I went through 5 separate drafts of the script because I couldn't nail down one thing. Like the issue 2 was going to be like 21 pages, and then Vaughn was like, no, and then we went back and forth to try and find ideas, and it turned out to be a 29-page book. But then we realized it was worth in the long run because we added that extra layer of storytelling that cleared up any potential thing from issue 1, and I think it really solidified the story. So the writing process definitely takes a little longer for me, but in full, I want to say each book takes about anywhere from 3 to 5 months to produce. So,
which is still not. It just amazes me how like people look at it and go, "Oh yeah, this just happens like this." You think of a comic and it happens.
Yeah,
some comics take years to happen.
Yeah.
I can definitely speak to some of that in my own work, because there have been Luckyzilla stories that came together, or at least started sprouting in, I don't know, maybe an hour, 2 hours. Like, I'd just start writing notes to myself. I'd be asking myself questions on paper like, what do I want to do with these characters? And then I'll think, okay, are we having, hero versus villain? Are we having hero exploring the world around said hero? Are we focusing on side characters? And once I start getting, point A, point B, cause, effect, A, B, C, I don't really write in a 3-act structure. I barely even know what that is. I could look it up, but I keep getting distracted by stuff. But I have a spreadsheet. Any idea I have for a comic, an animated short, it goes into that spreadsheet until I'm ready for it. I could have like 50 ideas in there, and I'm still working on like the first 3. So it can get a little interesting at times. But I was still determined to nail down exactly how long it takes me to do stuff. If I work on something just a little bit one day, I'll make a note of it in my production timeline. I don't have one for Lucky Zilla number 38 and 39, and you'll probably understand why. But I do have them for Lucky Zilla numbers 33 through 37. So the grand total number of working days on Lucky Zilla number 33 was 44 working days. I spent 2 days writing the treatment, 4 working days writing the script, 12 days designing 3D sets that the characters would occupy, and I designed a lot of them from scratch in 3D Studio Max. I spent 13 days penciling, 17 days inking, and the last 2 days were editing. Lucky Zilla number 34 was a bit more of a stretch. There's 9 working days on the treatment, third as much for the script, about as much for set design. Altogether, 63 working days for Lucky Zilla number 34. And originally, the story that I was trying to do would have taken up 3 issues. And I was not prepared to devote this amount of time to this particular story. You know, I would have made an after-school special instead. I wouldn't have made it a comic book.
Dude, I'm amazed because you don't see that, especially in indie comics. Where you're on issue 30. What is it? You're issue 30 what now?
38. I'm working on 39 with my friends Danielle and V. Gormley.
You do not see that in indie comics. Usually it's about 6 issues if you're lucky.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah. 35 took same amount of production days as 34, which was 63. 36 was a little bit narrower, but it was also a post-Christmas release. So I got tired of doing Christmas releases. That was 47 days. But 37, which was almost like my last straw issue, was 120 days of production.
Oof.
It's like I almost met my match with Lucky Zilla number 37. It was a story that was very difficult to write. It was a story that I needed a certain perspective on that I just couldn't find. So I improvised to the best of my ability. And looking back, I'm proud of it. But woo, was it a lot of work. And 38 too. Like I lost a lot of steam on Lucky Zilla number 37, but I recovered in time to release Lucky Zilla number 38, although it was 5 months late and it was right before the end of 2024. But I was very busy last year. I found my rhythm again in animation. I was making these weird animated shorts with these 3 goofy so-and-sos that just float in a dead space and talk to each other, narcoleptic seahorse pigeons. It follows Rowan, Rory, and Rue. They're non-binary, they're androgynous, and they float in a dead space and say anything that comes into their head. Well, Rory and Rue do, but Rowan is kind of the non-humorous one. You know, they'll just be off in the corner listening to these two, and occasionally they feel the need to speak up and be like, do you hear what you're saying, the both of you? Because you're talking about you don't understand why they don't make 3-hour movies anymore. Then you turn it right around and be like, I can't sit through a 1-hour movie. You can't sit through an episode of SpongeBob, and you can't sit through TikToks. Like, you know, I can't sit. What do you mean you can't sit? No, I can't sit, period. Do you have a problem like back at? No, look around. There's no chairs. What am I going to sit on? And I found
comedy.
Yeah, I found a very efficient way of doing the animation, and I was able to jam out 28 episodes over the course of 2 seasons of the show. There's going to be more, But one of the things that I can speak to, more to your point, Ralph, about a comic just doesn't happen. This doesn't happen. I mean, yeah, of course, there's people that use Gen AI, and I'm not even going to touch that debate. But the most I'll say is, I don't need generative AI. If I came up with something like narcoleptic seahorse pigeons, and this critter right here, I don't need Gen AI. It would be redundant. Like, I'm already surrounded myself with crazy.
That always bugs me out. I'm like, I always have ideas, so that, you know, they're constantly trying to pour out of my head.
Yeah. It's a good problem to have, though. I will.
Oh, it's definitely a good problem to have. All right, Michael, answer the question and jump into.
Oh God.
Answer
okay.
So, and jump into your Kickstarter.
All right. So I guess the question being like how long it takes for anything to happen, it really depends on the project. There are certain things where it's, you know, it needs time to temper. Like, you know, I think everybody has that project that they started ages ago and they've played with it a lot. There's been a lot of failures to launch. But then there are other projects where, you know, you strike lightning and you have your script super fast. And, you know, I've been doing this now for about 5 years. And in that time, between writing and editing, I've been a part of 9 projects.
Oh, wow.
So like, there are certain times where the iron gets hot and I'm able to crank out scripts like there's nobody's business. And there's other times where you hit a wall, you know, and it takes time to get over the wall and sometimes even distance. And I think that was one of the big things that happened with this is Elysian Fields Reborn. And Elysian Fields was actually the first series that I came into indie comics with. I came in around 2020. And it was very successful. But then our second book was not so much. And it almost broke my comic experience. I lost a lot of money on it. I was going through some stuff at the time, and if it weren't for the character I created called the Embrace, I probably would have stepped away. But over the years, I've had the distance and experience to go and build myself as a bit more serious of a creator. I've learned a lot in that time with all the work that I've done, and I actually had people about 1.5 years ago starting to ask me when we would get the next Elysian Fields, and I was just like, well, where were you on book 2? But upon doing some reflecting and everything like that, I decided that it would be a cool thing to go back, and not just go back, but to really start over again and bring things full circle and take everything that I've learned in the 5 years that I've been doing this and put out the best book I possibly can. Go back to the script, hit it with a freaking hammer, knock it down, and build it back up. Get in a new art team that really captures what I was trying to do with the original, but didn't know what I was doing. And so that's where we are now. Is I've got a fantastic art team: Will Reyes, Tiago Gomez, Lou Winter, Ruvian, SK, who's been my letterer for years. And then we got an editor, Drew Williams, who was actually one of the first people that did a review for the original Elysian Fields, and has become somebody that I've trusted their opinion on my stuff, because he's never going to tell me that something's bad is good. And he's also like a very, very good stickler for details on things that I'll miss. So we've just got an incredibly professional book. And when you look at it, I think the art speaks for itself, but then you hear what it's about, and like at its base level, it's Mortal Kombat with heroes of mythology.
I love that.
So you've got the book starts off and you see Achilles' final battle at Troy. He dies, he goes down to the underworld, he reunites with Patroclus, and then he's ripped away from that piece after like 30 seconds to go fight in an arena alongside Heracles and Queen Hippolyta of the Amazons. And they're fighting against heroes from completely different mythological pantheons. And it's all in an effort to help Hades regain his dominion over the underworld through this tournament. And, you know, we've got some pretty fantastic artists on the book. Not just obviously the interior art, but like we got Ken Marion and Andrew Dahlhaus did this beautiful Lionhearted Achilles cover, which was beyond me to, you know, I sent his art rep a message fully expecting to be blown off. Like it was literally just a let's have fun and shoot Ken Marion a message. You know, he's not busy with Green Lantern or anything right now. And like, sure as shit, I get a message back from his art rep, and they're just like, "What the fuck is this? Tell us more. We're interested."
Yeah.
And so I gave them the pitch, and he loved it. And V did just a tremendous job.
V is a personal friend of mine. I've been friends with him for a few years now. He is one of the coolest dudes ever. He is
so nice. And you want to know is the frustrating part about working with him is when he sent me the thumbnails, it was easily one of the like most difficult decisions I've had to make in my career. Because like they were all fucking bangers. I was like, well, shit. I ended up choosing this one because most of our covers have the full team, and this is a story about Achilles. So I wanted to have a cover that really focused on him, and so that's what we did here. Is we have this lion-hearted Achilles cover with him surrounded by dead Trojans and everything like that, because you know that's what you want from Achilles. But yeah,
Trojans.
So we had that fantastic piece. And then we got Von Randall and Robert Nugent, who both work on a book you might have heard of called Spawn, you know, small indie title. Moderately okay. Vaughn has actually been a friend of mine for years. He did my first ever Elysian Fields variant cover way back in the day. And it's been really cool because I've gotten to see his star rise over the past 5 years. And so getting to have him come on and do this cover for us, and it really did feel like a full circle moment having this come to life like that. And Robert Nugent's colors speak for themselves. They're just absolutely outstanding. And then we had Zach Pintuam. So I don't know if you guys have heard of the Supergiant Games hit video game Hades, but a couple of days prior to launch, Hades 2 went full platform release. And so I wanted to have like an homage to that Supergiant Games aesthetic. And I ended up finding Zach on ArtStation. He had submitted to like a Hades fan art contest, and his piece was gorgeous. And so I hit him up, and turns out he's a 20-year-old kid in art school.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this is his first professional work, and he did pencils, inks, colors. He did it all. Absolutely fantastic cover, absolute banger. It's really, really cool to have it be where like there you really can't go wrong with any of these covers.
I can see the Hades art style in there. Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah.
It's very apparent on Hippolyta. Like I really like how he draws Hippolyta. Actually, like I love it a lot.
This art's just beautiful.
Yeah. And then these are our physical tiers. You know, we have a digital tier, $5, and then every single cover of the book is $15. That's your physical book plus your digital. So it's effectively $10 for the physical copy, $5 for the digital. I've kept shipping as cheap as I possibly can. I'm probably taking a pretty substantial hit on it, but I'd rather have more people back.
I don't know what to say, Michael. I can't wait for this campaign to be over because my mouth is watering for my copies.
Well, I mean, that's the other good news, man. Is the book's done. My copy's buried away right now. I should have took it out for the show, but the book's done, and I think one of the coolest parts about it is we're not doing like a traditional. Oh, that's right. You've got your proof. He can show it off. So yeah, this was a cool thing we did. Is the first 20 backers, I pre-printed 20 limited proof copies, and I signed and numbered all of them, and I sent them out to our first 20 backers. And Ralph's just like, I'm gonna show off because this thing is sweet. And here's the cool part.
I hate you, Ralph. I really hate you right now. I really hate you big time.
So here's the other really cool thing is, so I stretch goals are a thing where we have some tchotchkes on our stretch goal list, but I actually prefer to invest it into the experience of the book. And so everyone who backed that main cover, we crossed our 4K stretch goal. So that main cover is going to be a lava holofoil edition. Ooh. So and then when we hit and when we hit 5K, that V. Ken Marion one is silver foil. And normally I'm not the biggest fan of silver foil. It tends to wash out the colors on a cover, but with the metallic colors in Achilles' armor and the kind of muted background that it actually has a massive glow up and is drop dead gorgeous. It's one of these things. It's been really fun to kind of see how everything's come together, and it's surreal because, as I said, this is me going back to the beginning and bringing it up to now where I am as a professional and as a creative, and it's been a blast. I actually have the first 4, almost 5 issues written at this point. We're going to be doing our first ever spin-off with it called Song of Hippolyta, which has been really fun to put together. Hippolyta is probably one of my favorite characters to write in the series. Probably a lot of that has to do with the fact that since she's never really been a leading character in anything from a mythological standpoint, there was a lot of room for me to kind of play with her, right? She's always been support cast in pretty much every myth she's appeared in, and so there's not a lot of consistency. Whereas Heracles and Achilles, both pretty ironed out in terms of who they are as characters. You have a pretty rigid roadmap and how you're supposed to write them. Hippolyta, on the other hand, it was a thing where I could pick and choose from all these different interpretations of her across different mythological traditions and shape the Hippolyta that best fit the story. And so it's been a lot of fun playing with her as a writer.
I think one of the favorite things is when we can play with characters or gods or stuff that we've known for a long time and kind of put our spin on it. So I kind of understand when people who make movies want to do it for themselves, but at the same time, you're like, okay, why are you doing this?
Well, that's why it's I love Achilles, I love I love all of the characters I've handled so far, but like for instance, we were talking about how long it takes for you to put a script together. For something like Elysian Fields, there's tons of research that I have to do. Like, so I have Achilles, Heracles, and Hippolyta. They make up our team Hades. But when Achilles gets to the arena, Heracles and Hippolyta are fighting Gilgamesh and Enkidu. I went and I reread the Epic of Gilgamesh like 5 times as I was writing this first arc. Like, like you have to go, like, because like Achilles, I have a very strong grasp of. I've read both. I have read the Iliad over 20 times in my life. It was my bedtime story as a kid. Like, that is a character that I feel like I understand very well. Heracles, I've read a bunch of his different myths throughout my life. Hippolyta, I had to do some more research on because she's, as I said, like very much a tertiary character in all of her stories. But like Gilgamesh and Enkidu, these guys are leads of their own. And while I've read the Epic of Gilgamesh before and I am familiar with it, I don't have the same level of competency and authority as I do over the Greek heroes. Right. And if I'm going to do this right, I need to go and make sure that I represent them in a way that feels authentic and respectful to their stories. Because at the end of the day, there's a reason they've lasted the test of time. And they exist on a completely ephemeral level within their cultural subconscious for where they came from. And so if you're going to be playing with these larger than life figures, these myths that have stood the test of time, you need to respect who they are and do your best to try and capture them authentically.
But it's that research is important for anything we do.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to write what you know.
Exactly.
If you don't know what,
learn it.
You don't exactly know the rules if you don't know what the rules are. So
exactly.
In
order to break the rules, you got to know what they are.
Exactly. Research is one of the hardest things for me to do, but at the same time, depending on whatever the story is, if I feel like, this is a story I really want to do, and it's something that not a lot of information is readily available, or I know nothing about the subject, well, I got to start looking somewhere. Lucky Zilla number 35 is a story called Flippin' Out. Now, some of you maybe have heard of Laserdisc at some point in your lives. I'm a Laserdisc fiend. And so one day I'm sitting around with all these Laserdiscs and I'm like, suppose I would have put this into my comics. Well, I had no idea how these things were manufactured. I knew that they were manufactured because, I'm holding them, but how did you get into my hands? How did you play? Like, what is this? So I decided I was going to react to some of these posts that I see on social media. I can't stand social media, but that's a different story. And I was thinking to myself, oh, yeah, we got to bring this back and we got to bring this back. Yeah, where's the technology to do that? So one of the villains, little fella named Quackery, who's basically like ChatGPT in the form of a 3-eyed platypus creature with Teedly Pops on his head. So he creates a scam. It's an all-purpose media player, can play just about every single disc. 4K UHD, Blu-ray, DVD, CD video, video CD, SA video CD, and of course Laserdisc. So the hero Lucky Zilla, he's a big fan of Laserdisc, so he knows BS when he smells it. So he starts digging into it, and of course it is a scam, but just how big it remains to be seen. So I happened to see in one of the Laserdisc groups I was a member of at the time, there was a gentleman who said that he worked for a particular company that mastered Laserdiscs back in 1980. So I was very quick to message this guy and be like, "Hey, I'm doing this comic. I want to talk to you about Laserdiscs. Would you be interested? And I'll pay you X amount." And he was very polite. He was very casual about it. He's like, "Yeah, what do you want to know?" And about 2.5 weeks later, I had written questions to him that I got answers back for. And I had another round of questions with him. And before I knew it, I had a story. Hi, Phil. So research.
It's funny how everybody goes, "Hey, Phil."
Yeah.
What up, Phil?
Yeah. I mean, definitely write what you know. I mean,
Exactly.
anything that's important to you,
Yeah.
most certainly. But never be afraid to test the waters because, as Rob Paulson's grandfather used to say, voice actor Rob Paulson's grandfather used to say, "There's always torpedoes in the water." So listen to Rob Paulson's autobiography, Voice Lessons. It's fantastic.
He's a great guy.
Oh, yeah.
I love Rob Paulson.
Yeah, funny.
All right, Nick, why don't you tell the people where they can find you? Wait, you were gonna say something, Tony?
No, I'm just saying. It's crazy. We live in. It kills me when people don't do research because there are certain things that are hard, but there's so many things that we have access to. Like just with the internet and sometimes like creators, like you'd be surprised. Like anyone that you like their stuff from Hollywood, reach out to them sometimes. Just tell them their stuff is great, and you never know. Like they'll give you insight sometimes. I mean, we're in such an interesting time, So it kills me when like people make a comic movie and they don't read the comics. Like, yo, you have access to Marvel in their library. You can read every single book. Like
they tell their people not
like,
to read the comics.
it's just those are just pamphlets for the patriarchy, whatever. It's just a costume. Anybody can wear it. It just kills me,
They tell their people not to read the comics.
That kills me. It's like, well, if you're doing like if you're doing a movie about a Shakespearean play, wouldn't you read the play? Like, wouldn't you know what you're doing?
Right.
Is it just
Shakespeare comes out like dressed in a toga and he's got like a buff sword and it's really cool. Man, he kills everybody.
Oh my God! Please don't.
There's some Hollywood guy out there going, "That's what we're gonna do."
But it sounds like the internet, man. Like people will say things as fact when it's completely wrong, and they're like, "What are you talking about? Like, are you trolling? Like, I don't know. Like,
I mean, even when you look at our sphere of things, like the comic book nerd side of things, I know that it's topical right now because Thunderbolts just came out. There's a lot of positive buzz going around about how it's a better film than a lot of stuff that's been put out here recently from Marvel. And one of the big things that's contributed to that, and this isn't a rumor, this was literally stated by, I believe, the producer of Black Panther 2, which personally did not enjoy. But the guy said, we use it as a litmus test when somebody comes in and says that they've read the comics. We use that as a way to keep them out of the writer's room. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Why would you exclude the people who actually care and know these characters from being involved in the creative process in making a product, in making a story, I should say, that both fans, longtime fans, and casual moviegoers and the general audience will both enjoy. And instead, for the past, how many years has it been since Endgame? Almost 6, 7?
Oh, wow.
For the past 6 or 7 years, we have gotten inconsistent quality films that have done more to divide the fan base than bring it together. And as a result, the first solid movie, like, I don't think it's as good as people are putting it out there. I've seen it twice, once for my own thing, and then my son wanted to go see it, and so I took him to see it. I've seen it twice. It's a good movie that would have been a much better miniseries. But like, the fact of the matter is that it's not performing as well as it could have been or should have been, because everything that's come before it is slop. And that's right, Phil. It is not narcissism at its best. If you are going to go in and tell a story, you need to be an authority on it, right? I think probably one of the best movies that I've seen recently is a movie called Warfare. It came out, it had a very limited release. I think it was done by A24, and it was literally written and directed by former Navy SEALs, and it's literally, you are getting to see a full-on hour-and-a-half mission in Ramadi, Iraq in 2003. 2004. I actually think it was 2006 is when it is, because I had a whole debate with my dad, who both of us served, and we had a whole debate on their use of cat tourniquets, and I had to look that up to prove my point. Point is, absolutely fantastic movie, and it's because these people are an authority of it, and they created an authentic experience that really sticks with you and is haunting. And it very much reminded me of Tim O'Brien's How to Tell a True War Story, which was an excerpt from his The Things We Carried, his memoir on Vietnam. And like, it captures all of the essence of what that kind of conflict is, and brings it to life in a way that captures the horror, captures the beauty, captures all of what war is in an hour and a half. And you get something special out of that. But then you look at what's being done by a lot of other people who come in and they're stepping into shoes of other franchises, of other characters and everything like that, and they haven't done the homework.
That's because they don't respect you. They don't respect video games. They don't respect comic books. They don't respect, because you've heard it before. It's just comic book. It's just video games. I know better.
But here's the thing, though. No matter what it is, these are things that are proven to be successful. I mean, shouldn't you? You should at least, it changes, or you can make, it's fine if you make changes, whatever, but you should at least know what you're changing.
Exactly.
Look at what worked. Maybe you don't do it exactly, but at least this is a thing that worked in its form. Like, why would you not look at that and just go make up something else? And with the assumption that, it just worked because of the name. No. It's not just the name. It's not just the time.
You're absolutely right, Tony. Like, I think probably one of the best examples of this is Captain America: The Winter Soldier. No one's going to expect you to have. There are going to be things that are lost in translation. There are going to be things that don't transfer over from the panel to the page. At the end of the day, Ed Brubaker's seminal run on Captain America relies on 60, 70 plus years of character backstory and narrative that don't exist in the MCU. So, like, having a thing like, Bucky killing Rick Flag because he was a Bucky for the crazy Captain America from Korea or Vietnam isn't going to work in this story because there's only Steve Rogers. So you're not going to be able to do stuff like that. So you have to change it. But it was very clear that the Russos did their homework and were like, well, what's the core impetus of Winter Soldier? What was the message? Well, it is at what point, at what points are we willing to give up for security? Like, what freedoms are we willing to give up for security, and making an issue of transparency in the intelligence community? Like, that's what the Winter Soldier is he's the embodiment of, all state kept secrets. Because in the books, Nick Fury knew who he was, or at least had a pretty good idea, and Cap is pissed with him about it. And so, this is the whole thing: is are you going to get that exact story comic to film? No, there are going to be differences, but the core message stays the same.
Yeah.
And the important story beats are there, so it doesn't freaking matter.
Yeah.
There's respect.
And I completely agree with you because and that's why the X-Men didn't work, because they took these stories that were about certain characters, and then they go, we're gonna do the Jean Grey story with no Jean Grey.
Don't get me started.
The best X-Men movie, I think, was the second movie, because it's God Loves, Man Kills, and it's not exactly like God Loves, Man Kills, but that's one little book. You could take that story and you can make a movie out of it easy. And like probably the worst one was The Wolverine. The Wolverine is 4 comics. Like some of these movies, like we'll say Winter Soldier, for example, it involves a whole, I don't know how many comics. It's 4 comics, man. How could you? What are you doing? There's a woman. You killed a full-grown woman. Someone said, let's make her a 12-year-old. Silver Samurai. There's like, well, let's not make that guy Silver Samurai, who's in the movie also. Let's make someone else Silver Samurai, but let's make it a robot suit. Like, what are you doing? Like,
it's mind-numbing. And then
they're applying Hollywood formulas to things that just don't work, because they feel the Hollywood formula is going to work no matter what. That's just going to make us the most money, and just stick with that, because we don't think outside of the box. We don't have anything new.
But here's the ironic part, Paul, is that over here, comic book fans have been tearing their hair out and everything like that over bad movies for freaking years, because Hollywood thinks that they have a superior mode of storytelling than comics, and don't really have the respect for the fact that they are the most recent, tradition of mythological heroic storytelling. Like, forget that. But like, meanwhile, you have in the East, anime are like 1-for-1 adaptations of their manga counterparts, panel for panel, just strung together through seamless animation, and they are making gangbusters in every way, and it's because they're being respectful to the original storyteller's intent. And I mean, you're even starting to see some of this bleed over. The Netflix One Piece series, it was contractual that Oda would have final say on scripts, casting, everything.
And it was really
as a result, the first season was very popular. It got a lot of people in the general audience in on it, and then like, while there were certain members of the fan community that were just never going to be pleased, the same way there were certain fans of Tolkien that were never going to be pleased with Lord of the Rings. Most people were like, this is a really great thing, and it's awesome because it feels like One Piece, and it could get people interested, and then we can hook them on the actual show and turn them into actual One Piece fans. And when you have that level of respect, it's almost as if the people who told these stories in the first place did a really fucking good job at telling those stories. And you shouldn't be sticking your nose up at them because it's in a mode of storytelling that, for whatever fucking reason, your elitist bullshit thinks that it's inferior.
Yeah.
Well, that's I've been listening a lot to like the old radio programs from the 30s and the 40s, and the serials. It's just like they were able to knock those out so quickly. And I think because the fact that you can produce that content based on existing content, without having to worry about special effects, and 3 years of production, you can set the storyline and have it, doled out in a very subsequential manner very quickly. And that's what made those so successful. The transition for like Dick Tracy from the comic to like the radio series was amazing. It's just, it's such cool stuff, it's just, that's where they're really missing it. They're trying to cram too much stuff into 3 hours now, which I can't stand anymore. I mean, it's just way too long for a movie for me. But anyway, it's just like, why can't you just stick to the plot that was already been set and just tell a great story? It shouldn't take more than an hour and a half, 2 hours tops. What killed me about the whole Pirates of the Caribbean with like 3, 4, and 5. Everybody was talking for like 4 hours. It's like, where the frick is the action, man? I don't need to be like talking about like time travel and this kind of crap. We're the pirates, man. Blood,
So, like,
just the action. What's the deal?
There's only one Pirates of the Caribbean movie. I don't know what you're
I will say this. I actually appreciate 3-hour long run times on things, because there definitely are stories that need that extra time to breathe. And I think that when it's done well, you get great things. I mean, like, nobody's going to sit here and tell me that Ben-Hur isn't one of the greatest
I'll give you that
ever made. But at the end of the day,
I'll give you that one. All right, don't get me wrong.
I mean, like, I love Endgame. 3-hour runtime. I adored that movie.
Yeah, but they took their 3 hours and they made it count, and they made
correct.
You want more.
There's but like, that's the whole thing, is there's absolutely a way to do a 3-hour runtime movie. It is very difficult, and like,
I think that's a story that takes, because Avengers Endgame, they had a lot to do. That's a 3-hour movie. There's a lot to do. Some of these movies, I'm like, oh, come on, man. Why did this have to be 2 hours, 2.5 hours? For what? Like, like
100%. And there is a
like
huge...
editing is a lost art, man. Like, I think, I blame Christopher Nolan. I mean, he's a genius, but I mean, not every single thing you film has to be in the movie.
I am dreading the Odyssey. The set photos look absolutely god-awful. And if the rumored casting decisions are true, I want to have a serious discussion with them. Be like, are you okay? Because like you said, you were going to be authentic.
That's because they're doing the same thing. We don't really need Odysseus to be the main hero of the story.
Well, so this is here's my deal. There is a very solid portion of the Odyssey that is told from Telemachus's point of view. Mm-hmm. That I wouldn't have that much of an issue with. Like, if they're going about this where it's literally Telemachus is sailing to these different areas to try and figure out where Odysseus is, that's actually a part of the Odyssey, and it could be a very smart way to kind of streamline the narrative. That could work. I don't know if that's what he's doing. I don't really care. Odysseus's armor looks like shit. All of their armor looks like shit. The ships are freaking awful. Like, not even remotely close to a monoreeme. Like, they look like a weird blend between a Viking longship and a fishing boat. Like, I don't have words. It's all bad. And then, like,
I bet you came down to the fact, Michael, where it's like, we could design the ship one way. You can have it that way, but it's going to cost you $10 million more. For $5 million, we can give it to you this way.
But it's Christopher Nolan. He's gonna make the money back no matter what. Because a bunch of clueless yokels will go see it anyway because it's Nolan. But it makes me angry that I had to defend Troy, which I hate. I hate that movie. But like, putting the monoreeme ships from the fleet of 1,000 ships in Troy up against rinky-dink ships from the Nolan films, like, I don't know what you're doing. We had this literally almost 20 years ago. Actually, literally 20 years ago. That movie came out in 2004.
Wow.
Like, 20 years ago, you got outdone. And you're Christopher Nolan. There's no excuse. And like, I will sit here and complain about the lack of authentic archaic Bronze Age armor panoplies and everything like that. I understand why Hollywood doesn't actually do it. But man, did they all have to look so fucking bland? They look like freaking black leather. And it's just absurd to me.
Silver. That's it.
It's ugly. The only thing that I've seen from this, the only thing I've seen from the set photos that looks good is the city of Troy does appear to have period accurate architecture, and it's got like this deep red paint on it, which illustrates that, it's not like interior and exterior design are new fucking concepts. people have been doing this since antiquity. We have the pigment studies to showcase that these buildings were painted, columns were painted, statues were painted. They weren't just like how they are now as ruins, just cleaned up. They had life on
All right,
them.
Michael. It looks like Nick has to get out of here. So, Nick, go ahead and tell the people one more time where they can find you. I'll put up the stuff so you can do your thing. Go for it.
Cool. You can find me on Instagram at Nicapone Art. I also have a Sky Maiden Studios Instagram at Sky Maiden Studios. On Twitter, it's at Nicapone Art as well. And Purity is currently live and funding on Kickstarter. We're 86% of our goal with 5 days left to go. So feel free to like, share, spread the word that Purity #3 is here.
Yeah, folks, go check it out. You love yourself some 90s stuff. This looks just like all those beautiful stuff that you grew up with. So go check it out.
Thank you.
Anytime, Nick. You're welcome anytime. All right, Nick, we'll see you soon.
All right, have a good night. Thank you so much for having me. Nice being
Good meeting you, Nick. I think we follow each other, but like it's good actually putting a face to the name, man.
Likewise, man. We'll chat soon. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. Good night.
All right.
But Michael, yeah, you're right. You know, it's that whole thing, and again, it's what we're all saying. They just want to do it their way, and they want to make their mark, and they want to change the story because they don't think. I don't even know what they don't think. I'm not even trying to.
Mind blowing. It's absolutely mind blowing because it's like, all right, so the Odyssey has been around for how long?
Long time,
like literally older than some of the oldest translations of the Bible.
Yeah,
like one of the first great stories that exists in our cultural subconscious that is the foundation of Western civilization. Like that and the Iliad, pretty important books. And so when you say that Lupita Nyong'o is playing Clytemnestra, let's not even talk about the weirdness there because, you know, Lupita Nyong'o is African. Clytemnestra is a Spartan Greek woman married to Agamemnon. Those two things don't mesh up. But you also have the whole problem of Clytemnestra doesn't do anything in the fucking Odyssey. She has no part. So you're wasting one of the most talented actresses out there right now. And I do not say that in hyperbole. Wild Robot made me fucking cry. And everything that I have seen Lupita Nyong'o in, she does a tremendous job and brings her like S tier effort. So you're wasting her on a role that shouldn't even be in here. Clytemnestra is maybe mentioned once when Odysseus goes to the underworld and sees the ghost of Agamemnon, who then like kind of begrudgingly admits that his wife killed him. Like, she has no role. Why on earth would you do that? And again, these are based off of rumors because he has, in my opinion, very stupidly not announced the bill of cast. And so everybody's throwing conjecture at everything. And it's just like, okay, what's the point? Like if you're talking about trying to make an authentic rendition of the Odyssey, why are you not trying to be authentic? Mm-hmm. Like at the end of the day, you have a specific job to do. And it's, here's the text. Stay faithful to that. Obviously, there are going to be things that don't mesh. You're going to have to figure out a way to condense 10 years of narrative into a 2, max 3 hour film.
Yeah.
And that goes into what Paul was saying. Like, you got to earn the 3 hour mark.
You have to.
And
that's why you have to buy his book because you hear him talking. So, Michael, tell them one more time where they can find your stuff.
You can find me on social media. You can find me at 9 Realms Publishing on Facebook and 9RP Comics on Instagram. If you want more classical lectures on how people fuck up things like in Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. Or I think this morning I got tagged in a thing where this guy was like, who's the real hero of the Iliad, Achilles or Hector? And that got me going for like 2.5 paragraphs on an X reply. So like, if you want to hear that silly crap, you can follow me at ElysianFields_0 on Twitter. Obviously, we have Elysian Fields Reborn. We have 15 days left, so pretty much 2 weeks left in the campaign. We are funded. We have crossed 2 stretch goals. We are about to cross a third, and then our second cover upgrade, which will be at 5,000. So would love to get past that before we close out. So if you're watching, yes, you get special covers and stuff. And like, we didn't even get to talk about all the cool stuff you can get on the campaign, but it's irrelevant because you can just look at it and you will see all of the great things there.
It's pretty.
But
yeah, it looks very pretty. One thing I wanted to get in on with regards to adaptations, because I mean, as a creator too, I have at times wanted to see if I could try to adapt this or adapt that. I'm not going to give examples because take your pick, any fan boy or girl's dream. But then I was just like, I feel okay with my original stuff because when you have certain shoes to fill, like you're doing something that everyone knows very well or that has a significant audience, it's like you're being bound to a certain degree by something. And you can either choose to respect that legacy or you can not. It's one thing for someone like Walt Disney to lecture to a room full of storymen. Hey, have you ever read this thing called The Jungle Book? Yeah, well, don't read it. I'm going to tell you what happens. You're Walt Disney. You have a track record. I mean, it's kind of unthinkable to say don't read the book, but Walt Disney read the book. He had an idea of what he wanted, and The Jungle Book is probably one of the best things he ever did. Unfortunately, it was the last. But then you get into something like I was listening to 2 audiobooks by Michael E. Uslan, who had the arduous task and 10 years of pain and suffering resulting in the 1989 Batman film. He wanted a dark and serious Batman from the time he was about 5 years old. And this it's all in the books that I highly recommend you listen to. But he was kind of laughed out of every single executive's office in Hollywood, even from Columbia Pictures, who said, yeah, this thing you're trying to do, it sounds kind of nice, but we're not interested. I mean, after all, Annie lost money. Certain movies like that don't make any money. We don't do funny book pictures. And it just spurred him on even more. But one of the things I've always loved about the 1989 Batman is that it respected the lore. I mean, it did its own thing. Like, you don't have Joe Chill murdering the Waynes. You have the Joker. Now, some would say, oh, yeah, that's not in the comics. That's not how it was. But I feel like it was a better movie because they bridged that connection. And also the same with Vicky Bell coming into the Batcave. Like, Sam Hamm will say, yeah, that wasn't my decision, but I feel like the chemistry between those 2 characters, or at least those versions of those characters, made it a better movie. That's just my opinion.
Right. Well, at the time, we didn't know what we had. Nowadays it's a given that you're going to get sequels and you're going to get this and that. At the time, it's not new. So you have a self-contained story, just in that first movie.
And to that point, I think that the important part there was, while it does its own thing, the important thing about how Batman is,
yes,
and how he is treated in the film feels very respectful to specifically how he was portrayed in the comics, and especially around that time.
Yeah,
because I think that's like right before, like, when was Nightfall released? When was that?
That was like
that was
92, 90.
A bit after, yeah.
It was after, yeah. It was before
Yeah.
they went dark.
Yeah,
I think 89 made them want to go darker.
The point is that even leading up to Batman 1989, comics, the comics of Batman were getting there, they were serious detective stories.
Yeah,
and you had some really interesting things going on in the books at the time, and 1989, the success of that pushed DC into going, okay, yeah, we're gonna dive head first into this now.
Yeah,
but Dark Knight Returns had to have been by that point.
It was before. Dark Knight Returns. It was before, yeah.
Yeah, and like
it was an alternate reality, so it wasn't like the regular title was still.
But that doesn't matter. Dark Knight Returns became like, for better or worse, the Dark Knight Returns became everybody's go-to for Batman. This is how you're supposed to write Batman.
Definitely.
Which there are some good things with that. There are some bad things with that.
Look, man, I like Chuck Dixon and O'Neill, who had the detective Batman, and he was still dark and he was still gritty, but he there was still humanity to him. And then they went total other opposite way after that. I was like, what?
Hey, man, anything's better than Jean-Paul Vallée Batman.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about that. Rich, why don't you tell the people one more time where they can find you and all the good stuff?
Well, I'm going to keep this very simple. DrezenMedia.com. I am on a bunch of socials. I have, at one time I made a list, and I had like 24 different social media accounts. I'm not going to burden you with all of those. DrezenMedia.com. You will find social media info for LuckyZilla, Narcoleptic Seahorse Pigeons, and we're looking at my store right now. Yeah. Fun.
All the good stuff. All the lovely stuff.
Yep.
That's why you guys got to go here. And I'm going to make it easier for you guys. I'm going to take this. I'm going to stick it into the comment section.
He's going to put the link in the chat.
Boom. There we go. Link in the chat. Link in the chat, folks.
And right at the end.
Exactly. Man. This weekend, Rich is going to be where?
CradleCon at the Cradle of Aviation Museum on Charles Lindbergh Boulevard in Garden City, Long Island, New York.
And we have other friends who will be there as well, like Game of Tunes.
Yes.
Did you know that Game of Tunes made his own theme song for his Blip Chips?
Blip Chips. Blip Chips. Blip Chips.
Oh my God. It is so catchy.
Blip Chips.
Oh my God. He has a lot of good, beautiful.
I can see the notice from Facebook coming up now. Excuse me, play some music. Like, you have rights to this song. Like, oh
That's
God.
gonna stick in my head.
Oh my God, look at all these beautiful.
I just have a program that just listens out for music and will just strike you without even watching it or know what it is. Like, oh well.
Yeah, so you're gonna want to go check him out. He actually made my Hugbert for my soon to be comic book series.
Hooray!
So this thing is addictive. I keep playing with it. If you're paying attention while the show is going on, you'll hear the clicks.
So that's what that noise was.
Yeah.
I was like, what is that?
I thought someone was texting.
Also, I will do the second part to the Little Devil story and share that with you guys at CradleCon. So I hope you got there. And of course, I can't not mention the Shadow Rabbit, because the Shadow Rabbit will be there. He will be there to make your dreams into reality. Commission today.
He's such a good dude. I need to get in touch with him.
Oh, Shadow? Yeah. Dude, he'll make some beautiful stuff for you.
I know.
and he did the original sculpt of this Lucky-Zilla game piece, which came with every Lucky-Zilla the game. Yes, of course. Now, I'm almost completely sold out of Lucky-Zilla the game. I do not have any immediate plans to do a Kickstarter for it. I am, however, in the process of developing 2 Kickstarters for Lucky-Zilla Collections 2 and 3.
Cool.
That's as much as I can say right now because I don't want to give anyone's hopes up. And also,
we'll see what happens.
and also, I gotta say, those of you with your Kickstarter trailers, you've given me a lot of homework to do.
I was gonna say, Rich, you are very creative. I think you could come up with a fantastic little video.
I think I can too. It's just a matter of getting to it because anything worth doing for me is worth overdoing, so that this way I can feel really, really good about it and be able to sell it.
Exactly. And folks, you can go talk to Rich at CradleCon this weekend. CradleCon this weekend. Come on, keep saying it. CradleCon this weekend. CradleCon.
CradleCon. CradleCon. CradleCon. It's Cradle-tastic.
Exactly. And you can meet all these beautiful people. There's so many more. On Wednesday, we're gonna have a couple of people from who are gonna be at CradleCon. Shannon Michelle, the Scream Queen herself, and a couple of other people will join us on Wednesday here talking about the Cradle and the con and being there.
Because when the wind blows, the cradle will rock.
Exactly. So rock the cradle. Paul, go ahead. Tell the people all the good stuff as we are about to go. Go for it.
Can I show my trailer really quick? Is that all right?
No, of course you
No?
don't. Go ahead.
It's 30 seconds, so give me 1 second. Let me just do this first. Sorry.
Time
I
is for it.
give you this link. That's what I need to do.
There's a link?
Yeah.
Wait, how do you usually show it? Do you usually show it from the link?
Yeah, I mean, just give me a second. Let's do this. Here we go. Ready? Here it goes. Can you see this?
Did we lose somebody?
I think we lost Tony.
Oh, yes, that happens with Tony. Hold on.
No.
I got to remove this. I got to add this. There you go.
Is it working or no? There you go. Cool. There it goes. Sorry, let me just press play.
You step up to the challenge to save time as we know it.
Disruptions are occurring across multiple timelines, all at the same time.
Time Enforcers, an interactive digital comic and role-playing video game with a twist. Not only can you go on missions to the past, present, and future to thwart Chronolith's evil schemes, but you can learn about history and other civilizations while you're doing it. Time Enforcers, available for your Android device from the Galaxy Store.
Wow.
There you go. So yeah, Time Enforcers is our video game that we've been developing since COVID, pretty much. I mean, came this idea during the COVID pandemic and had to learn the programming myself, got that down. So going back to how long does it take things to happen? 5 years. Anyway, but yeah, it's been a fun project. I really enjoyed doing it. The first episode's out. It was released in April. Basically, Time Enforcers is a video game where we make learning history fun. And it's based on historical figures. So you go back and you play in the first episode as a samurai warrior Kaizen. And you try to figure out what's going on with the temporal disturbances in Kyoto during feudal Japan. And you go from there. So that's, episode 1, like I said, is out. We're currently working on episode 2 now, which will be flying into the Chronostorm. That's going to feature Amelia Earhart, along with a couple of new characters we've come up with. I've actually added, in addition to Detective Nico Time, who will be voiced by Rafael Traveras, we're going to be introducing Togo, the dog who ran the Serum Run in 1925. So Nick will be using Togo to try and figure out where Kaizen is in the temporal realm and using his deductive abilities to make sure we can get this guy back from the clutches of the evil Chronolith. So all good stuff. It's available for all pretty much mobile devices, iOS, Android, Mac and PC, and we're pretty much on almost every app store you can think of except Google Play, which really sucks, but that's okay. We'll go with this for now.
So, Gumshoes, it's up to you to save time.
Exactly. I appreciate that, but it's a couple bucks and it's worth the time. I mean, I enjoyed doing it, and it's only going to get better from this point on, so I'm really excited about it.
So am I, and I'm downloading it.
Very cool. Thank you, Rich.
Oh,
I appreciate that.
I figured Rich would like it.
Yeah, I'll give it a shot. I mean, RPGs are not really my speed, but once in a while, I want to get out of my comfort zone. I grew up with Shining Force on the Sega Genesis.
I like Shining Force.
Oh yeah, Shining Force is great. I still don't understand it for the life of me. I'm just like, wow, this is really cool. I have no idea why it's so cool, but I'm just gonna keep doing it because why not? Yeah, I'm digging it. I'm digging the music, and yeah, the trailer definitely sold me.
I appreciate that. It's a digital comic too. I'm trying to really engage kids of all reading levels. It's really meant to be accessible by kids so they can really learn about history. The whole point is making history fun. So if you can make an approach to kids where they can engage with it and then go off and try things on their own, then I've accomplished my goal.
So Paul, is the professor
one of these
making
days,
an appearance?
Paul, I will write something for your game. I will do it.
Can you please? I appreciate it, because what I want to do is I want to make this a modular experience, like the old episodes from the Batman series. Every week was a different episode, and
let me know what time periods you're looking at, and I'll let you know. Like it, because as I said, like it, my focus is based off of my field of study. Obviously, Alexander is like a big thing. And then I've done a lot of reading on like the Homeric epics and stuff. I have a pretty heavy background in like ancient Rome, but I also have a pretty solid base in French Revolutionary history and Napoleonic period as well. So
I would love, to be honest, Michael, I think your sweet spot and your strength is what you're doing, like with Legions Fields and that whole antiquity. I'd love to see what you come up with. Alexander would be great. Hell, even like, any kind of Roman emperor would be really awesome too. So it's like,
yeah, we can do that. Well, let's
really just to get kids interested. It's like, this is meant to be, I'm not gonna say spoofy, but engaging where anyone can watch it. It's not really meant to be, a level where you turn kids away because the material is too graphic or too high level. So that's really what I love about this. It's really a lot of fun. So
we can like we'll chat because I'm fairly certain we're friends on Facebook. So we'll hit each other up on offline and let me know what kind of content you're specifically looking for it, and we'll workshop some things.
Love it.
That'd be awesome. This is
the question is, Paul, will the professor be there at the Cradle of Aviation?
I am gonna. Well, sorry. CT Haugens will be there at Cradle Aviation. I don't know if he'll be there on Sunday, but he'll definitely be there on Saturday. I just got to Narrows Bridge. I can't stand that bridge. I'm going to take the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel instead, so I'll be doing that.
So you have it, folks. You can see Rich, myself, and the professor at the Cradle of Aviation at CradleCon this weekend, folks. This is a fantastic convention. It's in the Cradle of Aviation, which is a museum, beautiful aviation museum, folks. This is such a great thing. It's a convention in the museum, and it's an aviation museum, and it has video games.
It does.
But if you tag me, the professor tag the professor. He has big pockets, and that means he carries a lot of free stuff. So you never know what you're going to get coming out of the
right.
Yeah.
Go check out the professor.
And swag I give away.
And if you see me running around, maybe I'll give you something. Maybe I won't.
And if you see me, I will have fun stuff for you to read.
Exactly.
It'll be cool.
See, all this is fun.
Yes.
Folks, I love the fact you guys were here. Of course, on this show, when it ends, this is what happens.